Hello and welcome back. In this video, I'll be covering the creation and use of participant groups as a means of filtering and comparing data. If you're new to Keypoint, you may want to check out the Keypoint Basics tutorial video first because I'll be picking up where that one left off. There are some similarities between groups and teams. So if you've already seen the team competition video, hopefully some of the overlapping concepts will feel familiar. Let's get started. The primary difference between groups and teams is that a participant can only belong to one team for the sake of competition, whereas they can belong to multiple groups for the purposes of segmenting data. The first step is to create the groups. Choose the Configure Groups option on the submenu under the View Roster button. Then, click the Add Group button once for each group you're going to need. I'm going to create 5 different groups here, and I'll name them Hourly, Salary, East, West, and Central. There are buttons to delete the groups, and just like working with teams, you can use the Participants buttons to hand-pick participants for each group. I'm not going to do that here, and there's more detail about how that works in the Rosters video. I demonstrated it there using teams, but the method for selecting participants is exactly the same. In this video, I'll be assigning groups on the fly. To accomplish that, we'll need to insert some question slides. Remember, you can insert a question slide just by clicking the question button on the Keypoint tab. I just need to give it a title and fill in the question content, and you'll see the chart automatically populate with the labels once I click outside the choices box. Now, it's time to tie the participant responses to groups by clicking the Assign Groups button on the Keypoint tab. This is where we can match up each option to the appropriate group. At this point, I could insert another question slide, or I can just duplicate this one and change the words to create my wage group assignments. I want you to notice there's something to be very careful of here. When I go into the Assign Groups feature for this question, you can see that copying the slide retained the group's settings. You want to be very careful not to copy and paste a group assignment question for your entire presentation without setting these back to none, or you could wind up having everyone reassigning themselves every single question. Okay. Now that we're all set up to have the participants assign themselves to groups, let's look at the ways we can leverage that. There's basically 2 places where you'll use the groups to slice and compare the data: charts and reports. Let's stay within the slideshow for now by clicking on the chart button and inserting a Keypoint standard chart slide after the original question slide. If you've already watched the pre-post comparison video, you'll recognize that the chart is automatically showing the data from the nearest preceding question, which happens to be on slide 5. Let's give the chart a title, something to indicate what we're going to show. Again, you may remember that if I click on the chart, I gain access to the Keypoint chart options up here on the ribbon. I'm going to click the Groups button and select my 3 regions. Now, see these filters up at the top? The first one, or, would mean that the chart can include participants that are on any of the 3 groups. That might be useful if we wanted to see a combined chart of the coastal regions while excluding the central region, for example, and only includes participants that are on all of the groups you've selected. That won't work here because there's no way a participant can belong to all 3 regions simultaneously. I'm going to select the multi-series option because what I want is a side-by-side comparison where each region is a series in the bar chart. I see that each option now has 3 bars on top of it, 1 for each region. We can add a legend by clicking the Edit Legends button on the Keypoint tab and clicking the box for Show Legend. Keypoint automatically uses the group names for this legend. Okay, from here, I can change a couple of PowerPoint settings to get this looking how I want. And then this one is ready to go. I want to add another one though, just to show a little different thought process. I'm going to start by duplicating this slide. Then I'll change the title and finally switch the groups. This time, I'm going to use the AND filter because I only want the chart to show participants that are both hourly and also in the West. The legend is now showing the question ID, but I'm just going to delete it because it's no longer necessary since there's only 1 series in this chart. Let's get into the slideshow so we can see how this all plays out. First, I'm going to enable polling simulation because these charts will look better with more data than I can generate using the handful of keypads I had in the other videos. You can see that when I get to the question slide, Keypoint is voting for me. It has added 100 participants to the roster and is simulating their responses. It looks like the regions are fairly evenly balanced. You've seen this sample lecture slide a number of times, so I'm just going to step through it. Here's our test question. Simulation voting is all over the map here. Here's our breakdown by region. We can see that more people in the Eastern region knew the answer was all of the above. Now let's take a look specifically at the hourly workers in the Western region. Well, there's an opportunity for more training. So that's how to use groups within the slideshow. The other place they're useful is in reporting. I'm going to go into more details of reporting in a separate video, but for now, just know that they're available by clicking the Reports button. You can place ticks in the boxes for any reports you'd like to create, and the Select Groups button allows you to filter a report to a specific group or groups. There's even an option to include participants that aren't on any group, and one to make a new group with everyone in it so that you can compare one group to the aggregate. That's it for this video. Participant groups is one of the more complicated features of Keypoint. Thank you for sticking with me while I broke it down. Be sure to check out the other videos in this series, and as always, let us know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching.